What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're gonna be ranking the 8 mandatory poses, including the most muscular, of the totally awesome Lee Haney, from worst to best. And we're gonna be considering the poses throughout the bodybuilder's whole career. So, if it was the case that they were for some reason great in a pose when they started, but as they got older, they looked weak in a pose, this pose is gonna place mediocre in this video. It's not gonna place very high. Alright, let's quickly introduce Lee Haney. He's a record-holding 8-time Mr. Olympia, competing in the mid and late 80s and early 90s as well. He was a great champion and kind of in a league of his own, and is considered among the most successful bodybuilders to ever live. So that about does it. Let's jump right into the poses. And the weakest pose, in my opinion, for Lee Haney, it's gotta be the Ebb and Thigh. Man, it's pretty sad putting this pose in last, but I genuinely, honestly think it was Lee's worst. He still had a tremendous V-taper with those bat wing-like lats and a small waist. I'll give him that, but his midsection is certainly not eye-pleasing, with that gap between the abs, and the shape of them isn't very good either. The quads are nothing special. Even for the 80s, Lee's legs were quite undersized, so frankly this pose just doesn't work very well. Sometimes he would do different variations like the side Ebb and Thigh or the vacuum, which was a bit more effective in my opinion, but nothing doing. Alright, then I find the side triceps to be the second worst pose. Never Lee's best pose certainly, because the arms were never his strong point. Don't get me wrong, his horseshoe is pretty big and pronounced, but the delts don't measure up. The legs are also not even close to being amazing. I have to praise that chest though. What even is that? It's hanging off him. The pecs are incredibly thick, especially in comparison to that perfect midsection. So definitely not a bad pose. Lee is an 8-time Mr. Olympia, so he's impressive in all poses, but this is not one of his best for sure. And next we got the most muscular. Not a mandatory pose in the period Lee was competing in, but he did hit the crab variation pretty often, so I included the most muscular too. Right away you can see that his arms and delts fail miserably in trying to match the crazy thickness of his pecs. Look at that split and the striations, that's awesome. Lee Haney's got one of the best chests of all time, let me tell you. But really, the rest of his physique is holding him back, so I can't place this crab position most muscular any higher. Alright, the fifth best is the side chest, at least in my opinion. That might sound quite odd and even contradictory, considering I just said Lee's chest is in its league of its own. You can clearly see it here. The size of the muscle is so large that Lee's arm and shoulder lag behind. So does his lower body, so the balance is off. And he's not even hitting it that well, if you ask me. The near pec has got a really weird shape to it. Sometimes it looks like it has a split in it. Sometimes it just looks oddly shaped, like on the left. So overall, in my opinion, he's got 4 best poses than this one. Even though this is still a strong point, he could probably win it against almost anyone in history by just the virtue of his thick pecs. But in my opinion, he's got 4 more poses better, one of them being the rear double biceps, which places 4th. As we all know, Lee Haney's back was years ahead of his competition, and it shows in the rear double. Now, I have to admit, I don't particularly like his shape in this pose, his outline, because Even for the standards of the 90s and 80s, these legs are too skimpy, and I feel like the waistline looks unreasonably wide in this pose sometimes, like for instance in the picture on the right. I don't know why that is. The lats still throw very impressively, and the structure, shoulder width, is very good too. But to be honest, I'm not crazy about the pose. The back, as I already established, is massively developed and meaty and detailed, but Lee Haney lacks balance in this pose because none of the limbs match Lee's incredible torso. Either way, the overall effect of the pose is very powerful, and this is probably one of the 10 best rear doubles in history, despite having all these flaws. Now we're getting to the poses that are really top notch. This is the third best one, the front double biceps, of course, just in my opinion. We can agree that Lee's got flaws in this pose as well. His arms could be a bit larger, and so could his thighs, definitely, there's no doubt about that. But look how insane his V-taper looks from the front. The lats are one of, if not the best wings in bodybuilding history, and he's even got a small waistline to go along with it. The ribcage and pecs are full and popped out how they should be, while the midsection looks aesthetic with that vacuum. And I really want to stress the one feature that makes this pose look so good, and that's the posing style. It makes the outline look so great. So here Lee Haney definitely hit the nail in the head with this pose. It was a very strong pose, as well as the back version of this pose. But the runner-up is the rear lat spread. Here in the lat spread, it's emphasized how low Lee's lats insert. He has that bat wing look to his back with these huge, thick wings lats. The arms are taken out of the equation, so it looks even better than the back double if you ask me, and it makes sense. It's logical. In terms of the lower body, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's just simply too small, and it's always gonna be in all the poses. So the crazy wide and dense bat wings here make the pose work very well. This is almost unbeatable. This looks totally awesome. The only pose that is a bit better, I think, would be the front version of the lat spread, which, yes, places first on my list of Lee's mandatories ranked. Undeniably one of the best in history. I don't need to talk about the quads, no, but in this pose, they don't look too bad at all. They look pretty good, if you ask me. The shoulder to waist ratio is insane, giving Lee Haney a great V-shaped upper body. The midsection is sucked in, even though it still has that gap. And then take a look at the insane fullness of the pectorals. They're a standout feature of this pose. They're definitely too big. That being said, it's not enough to throw off the balance and proportions, because the lats are also very large and balloonish. The pecs, in my opinion, complement the lats instead of simply making them look undersized. So this is why the pose works. Do look at the silhouette, the outline, Lee's body carved in the front lat. Really such an elegant pose for him. Very becoming. You can tell he was practically made for it, I would say. He's a bodybuilder's bodybuilder in this one, 100%. So guys, be sure to let us all know your thoughts and your own ranking down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? I was trying to be objective, but I might have gotten something wrong, no doubt. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some Lee Haney videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.